confused, everyone?
As of the past 2 months, I began a new journey, life as a dad. Not only am I super proud and do I love my wife, but I also have a child now that I love just as much. I'm super proud of every little milestone that she does. I adore her, and I think that she's great. And hopefully someday in the future, she watches this video, provided that it doesn't get demonetized or taken down or a copyright strike, and she watches and she hears how her dad talked about her after her being only 2 months old. Now, the one thing that came up to my mind when I knew I was going to become a dad was, what kind of anime dad should I be? I definitely want to be a good dad, but the only problem with dads in anime is that if you're a good dads generally die early. I mean, pretty much anybody who's a dad in Dragon Ball Z died super early. Then we have Thors, Lieutenant Hughes, Odin, and last but not least, we cannot forget about Bartholomew Kon, because it seems like all the bad dads be thriving. I mean, look at Yujiro Hanma, look at Kaido, look at, well, actually you really can't look at Kaido, he's in the lava pit right now. But you look at some of these other dads, look at Jake. Really, these dads are really thriving, even though they're terrible people. Anyway, when it comes to being an anime dad, right now I feel like I'm like Lieutenant Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist, in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, Lieutenant Hughes, he was very good at his job, and he was basically the first one that was able to figure out the whole secret plot of the government, only to be killed by envy. But shout outs to my brother Roy Mustang. He definitely did lock in and get revenge against envy. But anyway, Lieutenant Hughes, he was one of those dads that he was super proud of his daughter. He was always showing his pictures off to his friends, especially Roy Mustang. And even though he wasn't a sentimental guy, he would at least give attention to the picture because he knew it was important to his friend. He had a loving and supporting wife, and he basically was willing to do whatever it took to take care of. When it came to his life, it ended tragically. You know, definitely the love that he showed and how he was able to treat his daughter was definitely admirable. And that's something that I would definitely want to do. Next, dad. Alright, let's talk about Thors from Vinland Saga. Now, Thors was another great dad who died early. He was a beast of a man. I mean, this man was huge. He was like the juggernaut. And basically, he told his son, you're not gonna have any ops. Your dad has no ops. In fact, I don't have anyone trying to fight me. See how big I am? I'm like 31-year-old LeBron versus the Warriors in 2019, man. You see what I'm doing? I'm locked in like D-Wade at 06. You see how big I am? I mean, would you want to fight me, Shine? Well, Dad, I don't see what being big. I mean, you know, what if somebody has a gun? Well, first of all, son, stop breaking the fourth wall. We're in Viking times, and people only have spears and swords and other handheld items. Now, no guns here, all right? But just know, when you get to my level, you'll have no ops. But until then, I'm gonna need you to make sure that you paint that boat. Make sure that you load all my essential oils up on that boat, because we're going for a long trip. All right, but Dad, I'm just saying, what about in episode 3 when you get jumped? Episode 3? What are you talking about, boy? This is real life. Anybody who tries to fight me, I'll beat their butts, Buster. You betcha. All right, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna be like, gotcha, boy. I'm gonna punch him in the face. It's gonna be crazy. Your dad is gonna be here for a long time. Now, when I get up on that raft, see, it's just gonna be me on one side, and then it's gonna be like 5 other guys on the other side, just trying to keep up with me. My man Thors was talking like he was Kendrick Lamar. He was like,
The big 3. It's just big meat.
Dad, there's no Kendrick Lamar. This is Viking times. His rhymes transcend time. Just get on the boat. So anyway, what Thorfinn said actually came true. Episode 3, it turns out that Thors didn't count on Flocky being one of his ops. And Flocky hired a group of bandits led by Ashgalad. So they pull up on Thors and the gang. They trap him in a valley. And Thors is like, all right, who wants their butt beat first? Memorize this term, no diff, because that's what I'm about to do to you boys. All right, I just put on my tea tree oil and I'm ready to fight y'all. And just so y'all know, when y'all get injured after I'm finished beating y'all up, I got some tea tree oil and some peppermint oil you can put on your wounds. And he starts beating everybody up, but my man Thors was just using his hands. I thought I was watching Monkey D. Garp. I mean, the way he was just mixing these dudes up. This dude is giving Ashgalad's men the hands. So they send the biggest dude at Thors, and Thors is like, yo, come get it. And so this dude is just like, man, I was saving this mushroom for the Diddy party later, but I think I'm gonna need to use it right now. This dude gets hopped up on shrooms and tried to fight Thors and still got mixed. My man Thors was the king when it came to hands. He was feeling himself in that moment too. He was just like,
see, what did I tell you, boys? No diff. I'm a beast out here. I got no ops. Nobody could beat me. Not even your uncle Thorkel. You listening, Thorfinn? Your uncle Thorkel is a beast, but even he knows that he can't run the hands with me.
it gets to the point where his family is now threatened and Thors has to make the ultimate sacrifice. He has to take on the full bombardment of arrows from Ashkelad's men, and he ends up becoming a human pincushion. But he died being wrong. He did have ops, and he taught his son a very harsh lesson in that day. Everybody has ops, whether you think you do or don't. And when it comes to a fight, even if you can fight, weapons always will win. But anyway, Ashkelad, at least that day, he was smoking on that Thors pack that night. And Thorfinn grew up an orphan, being raised by the man who killed his father. Next, dad. So the next dad that we're going to talk about is our guy Kaido from One Piece. Now, we can't talk about Kaido without talking about Odin. Now, Odin is another really good dad from One Piece. Now, Odin was this legendary warrior from a land of Wano, and he was legendarily strong. He actually almost beat Kaido. Very few people could even hang with Kaido. But what ended up happening is that they tricked Odin into thinking that they had his son kidnapped, and of course, this man, he had to dance as a fool. He had to handstand twerk for 5 years just to save the lives of not only his family but all the citizens of Wano. And people thought that he was a fool, that he had lost his mind, until he had to spend 1 hour in the boiling pot just to try to save his vassals. And then people started putting respect back up on his name. Anyway, even Kaido respected him at the end of the day, and basically he unalived him right there in the pot, even though he did honor their agreement and he withstood the heat for a whole hour inside of that boiling pot. But Odin was a really good dad because he always was putting other people before himself. But when it comes to Kaido, now Kaido was mad at his daughter. His daughter witnessed Odin's sacrifice and she became instantly enamored with him. In fact, she started calling herself Odin. She was copying, pretending to be her dad's mortal enemy, the only man who had really injured him in battle. And it got so bad, he ended up locking her up in a dungeon. And when she was like, "Don't leave me here, Dad. Come on, don't leave me here," he was like, "Oh, but I thought you were Odin." And he sentenced her to be in a dungeon for an extended period of time without any food. But we know that she did survive. She grew up to almost join the Straw Hat crew, even though that didn't happen, and I'm still upset about it, so let's not dwell on it. And basically, he had a very antagonistic relationship with his daughter. The fact that her whole life he actually did outfit her with explosive handcuffs that if she were to leave the island would explode her hands off shows me that he's a terrible dad, and that's something that I could never think of doing to any child of mine. Next, dad. So the next dad we're going to talk about is another bad dad, Sha Tucker. Now, to his credit, he did master the art of child and pet care. He ended up combining them into one abomination. But I feel the worst part of this is that he did it to keep his job for the government. And it turned out the government already had perfect homunculus. They didn't even need that. They just made him do it, just to see if he could do it. Next, dads. Because I'm going to talk about two dads in particular. The first one is Jing from Hunter vs. Hunter, or Hunter x Hunter, if you want to be real technical. Jing named his son after exactly what he was going to be after he was born. Gon. Jing had a love of adventure that he put over his son. Now, the other absentee father that we're going to talk about is Dio. Dio is such an absent father that his son has a picture of him looking back at him, and the two never ever meet as far as the series is concerned. Next, dad. Let's talk about our guy Bartholomew Kon. Now, he's arguably the best dad in One Piece. Spoiler alert. He gave up his mind, body, soul, and freedom just to purchase a cure for his daughter that it turns out that the world government gave her in the first place. Next, dad. Now, one dad that I definitely don't want to be like is Yujiro Hama. I'm just going to list off some of the things that he's done, but he is hyper violent. His whole life is about fighting and killing people, and he only had children so that they could grow up one day and give him the ultimate battle that he craves. He drove one son, Jack, into the loving arms of body dysmorphia and steroids and biting people to try to win fights. Not gonna lie, I think Baki has CTE, like Antonio Brown levels of CTE, because he went from he hates his dad into like, yeah, I just want to give him the best fight ever. Not to mention that he killed Baki's mom in the ring right in front of him. He forced himself on his other son, Jack's mother, And he has also publicly humiliated both of his sons and many other people. And he's so powerful that governments have to make a treaty with him not to ever interfere with him or question his decisions. Okay, on that note, I think we're gonna stop right here. So as I mentioned before, make sure to leave in the comments what type of anime dad are you? What type of anime dad did you have growing up? Until next time, I'm gonna see you guys up in the next one. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and show support for your boy.